that's what this weekly briefing has a little bit. Like there is an opportunity here once a week to just set a time aside and talk about what's going on, the big picture items of the industry. Where we sit at RevThink, because we talk to so many business owners, we hear things on the platform. I'm traveling this week. I've met a lot of people just face to face in their offices and hearing some of the major trends are going on. I feel like we collect those and then we use this platform to just talk about like what I know people want to hear, one way or another. And this topic came up this week because of this, what's been happening, either to clients or people reach out to me directly where they're suffering some setbacks. Some people haven't had work since September, which is a very long time, very, very dry run to deal with, or cash flow issues, laying off staff folks, obviously client relationships that have disappeared on them. There's a series of different setbacks for different reasons, the writer strike and actor strike affecting some content creators. But there always is a future. And I know from your podcast and the work you're doing as a business coach, you are really focused on that future self, that future you element of building a strategy. So I pulled this topic in for you, Marko. I'm going to I want to hear how the future person actually works this stuff out. But setbacks wise, like you're a business owner, Matt, you're a business owner, like setbacks happen, don't they?
Yeah.
Oh, and sometimes when you think like it's all locked in, this is it, this is the wave. Yeah, and by the weirdest circumstances. I had a TV show I'd been working on for a whole year. This was gonna make me, and then a random incident on a reality TV show in another state in Australia caused the network to cancel that show, and so I went and got engaged to my wife.
There you go. That's a forging ahead in the face of setback, isn't it?
Yeah, that seemed positive.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, I had some major setbacks in my time too. It's like when I had my studio, where it was like we work with the biggest TV stations in the world, and then I got in a fight with my partner, right? And the relationship crumbled and all those things, and everything fell apart within weeks, really. So things like that happen. I got out of the company, started something new, but it's always this. So setbacks do happen, and the beauty about this, like I went through a few of them. There's always something coming up. If you kind of adapt to the situation, right? It's not like if you just, and I see this with a lot of my clients. I have clients that really adapt to the new situation, and some of them are really thriving at the moment. And people that kind of, well, the trend I see, that two kind of people at the moment, the ones that really go out, invest in networking, I see them getting a lot of jobs in. Personality, they go out, they show themselves, they show their face, they play a long-term game, right? They don't have any cash flow at the moment, they still play the long game.
Yeah.
And I see them getting jobs in, and everyone that wants kind of the fast and quick solution. I mean, we all know this. It's not working at the moment. You can reach out as much as you want. It's not, like it's not the right time.
Yeah, this is a harvest of not just like low-end soybeans. This is like a timber harvest. You had to plant these trees 15, 20 years ago, kind of a thing, to get anything out of this current situation. And there is some people that have done that very well and are pivoting for a different moment. But the setbacks thing, I always find it interesting that, we could, with hindsight, meaning when I think about the past, I can recall setbacks. 2008 housing crisis, obviously early days of the pandemic. There are things that in the moment felt major issues. But now that I look back on it, I can think of things that have developed and evolved. Even the weekly briefing came out of supporting people during the pandemic. So great things come because necessity is the mother of innovation. But we don't wish ourselves into this situation. We don't want setbacks, even though they can be very healthy and kind of get rid of baggage that's been hanging around for a while, things that made you a little bit sloppy, or, honestly, things you can't afford become very evident to you, and you can kind of shift that way. There's got to be an antidote that when we look in this moment, in the setback, we know what the process is to make that future. So that we're not only futurists and future dreamers when things are going well, but we're also can say, hey, no, there's a current future in a time of a setback, in time of a down cycle.
And I totally agree, but I would want to add here is like, you don't have to see the future. You don't have to understand the future to believe in it, right? It's that there's some like time, everything changes at the moment. We are in times of AI and a global crisis, and the world will be different in 3 years from now. But there will change will come, and we all will change. We'll adapt in some way. We'll find something to work on. It's like I always compare it to this time when we had the switch from analog to digital, like back in the days. I'm old enough that I went through this, and it was the same thing. Like everyone thought like we will not have any jobs anymore, but in reality, like the jobs quadrupled, 10 times more jobs in the end. Like it's a major industry. There was a boost for the whole industry. It was at like early 2000s, something like that. And it changed the whole industry. And now a lot more jobs came on the market. And also, we cannot see that yet, what our jobs will be as creatives. I honestly believe, give it a few years, there will be more jobs available than now. Will we still have the big budgets? Probably not, but we'll have a lot more work. And I think it's not like we won't have like that $500,000 job, but we'll probably have something like a $500,000 contract over for a year, and we have to do a lot of small jobs, something like that more.
Yeah, the idea of like a future bias that our past is more valuable than our future is can really kind of haunt us. It really sets us wrong. And it's so interesting because I swear we want to brag on our present, saying, oh yeah, I earned my way here. I made all the right decisions in the past. That's what given me this moment. But when we talk about the future, we say, well, that's not my fault. Those are beyond my control, so that's the moment like, okay, we have this idea, but the reality is the value of the future when times are good, or the value of future now, it's the same. The future always has equal value because it hasn't yet come. And that's I want to change people's bias into something of like, well, no, your present is actually made for your future. Your present isn't the creation of your past. It's actually built for and the springboard for that future. What are you now going to do with it? And the entrepreneurial brain, like you as a business coach, you want to trigger that entrepreneurial brain and wake people up, make them, start thinking about that.
And I totally get it. It's like a lot of people are in scarcity mode at the moment. Like they are in survival mode. They have this mindset where they want to save things because they don't know how the future will work out. And I get it. But it's like, this is one of the advice I give my clients always, like, when do you want to invest in the housing market or stock market or Bitcoin? You want to invest when it's down, right? You don't invest when it's up there. You want to invest when it broke down, because we all know markets come back up again. And I see this as in a similar thing, right? The creative industry is at rock bottom, and it probably hasn't been worse ever. When there was never a harder time to sell creative work than now, but it doesn't matter. We are in the situation, and the best thing we can do at the moment is to position for the bull run, for the rise of the market, which will eventually come. But the ones that benefit from that will be the ones that build the network now, that have built relationships, that position their student, that position for the future, that future outcome, that talk to their clients. So what I want to say is, like, if you want to be at a different place in 3 years, if your future self wants to be in a different place, you want to invest in your studio and yourself now. Because honestly, you don't have work. Like, it's not like you have too much work and you don't have the time at the moment.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The reality is if we can embrace the uncertainty, then that actually comes through creative catalyst. So if we all know it, when things are going well, we actually are very busy doing the same job over and over again. And we love that comfort. We love that security. It feels like we can do this forever. All that's really great. But it's really in the time of need and the uncertainty pops up that now we have a reason to start thinking differently and embrace something new. I think about a conversation that was taking place in the community where somebody maybe trying to be provocative, but threw something out there of like, I'm now going to go make an AI photo studio. And just thought like, well, someone's going to do it, or the time is now, and just to put the thought out there to embrace it, embrace the future in some way. Not all ideas are healthy ideas, and not all ideas are beneficial to everybody, but to just recognize, hey, there's a moment of creativity that can come up. Why not try something? I love that entrepreneur energy that can be around that. What other ideas do you have, like antidotes for that?
Antidotes for what? For
that, like, future, that desire to know the future. Like, what are things that we can ways we can protect ourselves from feeling scared about the future?
So one thing I know is that a lot of people overthink at the moment, and overthinking leads to fear because we predict the worst case scenarios. We don't, like, if you think about your future, you don't think about a positive version. We are all human beings, and so when we think, we predict the future on the past, on the worst case scenarios. We don't build best case scenarios. So whatever you expect the future to be, it's probably better than you think it will be.
Yeah, well
because
said.
it's just the human mind. And what you just said, or what I think you said, is like, it doesn't matter what you think the future is going to be like, because we can't, the only thing we can influence is who we will be in 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what
it's truly unknown, no matter how confident you are or paranoid you are about it. You actually don't know. There is something in the present moment that you think this current situation is the one that's going to last forever. We don't have a way of getting ourselves out of our own mind. So when things are going well, we think that's going to last forever. When things are going bad, we think that's going to last forever. We don't have this balancing factor, and that can be very unfortunate. I can't remember if you were with us, Marko, at the time. I think this might happen after you left RevThink, but we did this accelerator called Revolve. I think Revolve might actually came out in the pandemic, but the idea of Revolve was to take the present and break it into enough small pieces that we are not so stuck on the big picture and afraid, but we can take them into bite-sized pieces and still make progress. And we did it one additional time, I guess even 2 years ago. So maybe it's time to do it again, and this might be a good moment to do it again. It's just that these big picture thoughts of what AI is going to do and what the financial structure is going to do, or whatever, like whatever the market's doing or clients are moving, can we break it up into small pieces and overcome them? I always find that to be very helpful, and it often takes an outsider to do that with you. So I don't know if you noticed that, or Matt, you noticed that working with people is like, people know the answer. They just want you to walk through it with them, because they have to get out of their bias, they have to get out of their mind to get that recognition that, yes, that pattern you have in your brain is not a healthy one. Let me show you a different way of looking at it.
Yeah, like I thought last week in our conversation when we were talking about like AI, what's that going to do? And the question was, what's it actually going to do to client behavior? Like, there are different aspects to a mega trend in your life, rather than just fixating on, is AI going to take my job? Sorry, Marko, I interrupted you.
The way, go on. I forgot what I wanted to say. Well, I got it. I got it. Like oftentimes, like when we say like when we said like this outside perspective and things, oftentimes what I find is like what I do a lot of times is giving people permission that they can change. Like, yeah, that was the creative industry up till now. You want to make this AI photo studio? I think it's a great idea. Do it. Try it. Try
Yeah.
to sell it before you do, before you build it, but try it. And it's like this permission thing really, like I have a coach myself. Why? Because I have so many thoughts in my head, and and then it's like I need someone to tell me that it's okay to try this, to test it. It's like this permission thing is just something we grew up with, right? This is like social conditioning and all the things, and sometimes we just need that someone that tells us, and it could be the partner, but it's like, yeah,
Yeah, that's a
oftentimes you
well
can't
said.
talk.
I find that people love when they give me an idea and I can grab that spreadsheet thing and I can start saying, well, let's talk about it. Give me the money, give me the timeline, give me and we could run through scenarios and know where the ups and downs are. Or we can try. I mean, that's kind of what your like the pivot is in the moment, is to try to think through the scenarios, but at least have some scenario or some strategy moving forward. And again, get into this bite-sized pieces where we can break down one by one. That's really great.
And when you
Yeah.
turn that, when you bring up your spreadsheets, you actually make it more tangible. Like now this thing could actually become a reality. It's not in the head anymore. It's just like it's on paper, and you talked about it. It's a validated idea or not, and then you can make a different and informed decision. Right? It's a
Yeah.
whole different scenario. Oftentimes, like we need that because it's like we're stuck in our heads. The more pressure we have, the more fear that comes in, the more we get into our heads, and the less we are able to make good decisions.
Yeah. The recently I was helping somebody having unfortunately have to do some cutbacks. And in that case, we knew what the dollar amount is we can afford right now. And so just have a dollar amount. And then as you're working through your new staff list and furloughing people and, working with freelancers or whatever all those possibilities, you can actually change that variable and see if it starts to fit. And now you can use your imagination, actually inspires imagination. If you don't do that, you can't see that. You just do something very binary. Everybody's gone, and some people do this overreaction unnecessarily, create more harm, actually create the setback instead of just dealing with what the moment possibly is and move forward that way. Um, I, I, the practical advice of forging into the future is great. The thought process that the future is always there and valuable to us is super great. I think to me, it's if we're going to do this well as a community, if we're going to build each other up as a community, there also has to be something that says, hey, we have to get the naysayers out of the way. Right? There's a confidence game also happening, and we can drag each other down. Again, I'm not saying let's be practical. Let's get good, solid advice and get boots on the ground information. But there is a participation in a community that says, hey, your dreams are important to throw out there right now, and don't hold on to those dreams. But when you're feeling desperate, you're not dreaming anymore. I mean, what you're dreaming is you wish, it was a better economy, but you're kind of like your vision starts to disappear. And I think in community, you can create opportunities for a greater vision.
It's so true. Yeah.
Definitely.
So
And
when we
if you're
get
writing if you're writing a life story, it is a story, like it is in your head, and you're writing this future story. It's not your life yet. So definitely trying to set the right actors to tell the best story around you is a priority.
Yeah. Love the idea of writing your story. What were you going to say, Marco? Did we lose you?
what do you want to say?
That it was this
Yeah,
idea of like
my thoughts always disappear.
I think Marco's just enjoying the conversation. No, I think the thought process of what community can do and how it gives us a chance to dream again, because vision comes from like that third eye idea of where vision comes from needs a different power source. It needs hope. It needs, promises. It needs a little bit of imagination. And when you're desperate and you're very, primary, you really shut off all that rest of the energy to anywhere else. But other people can encourage you and build you up to start thinking differently.
It's when like in times like these, when the future is uncertain and we have a lot of pressure, what happens with our brain is that we draw back, like we go into the comfort zone, and we want to save what we have, right? It's just a human survival thing. And we actually, what you just said is true. We lose sight of our big vision. So our vision gets smaller. So, and to get to this goal, which now is bare survival, we actually don't, it's not like we want to achieve this big thing. We want to become number one, market leader, build this, produce this TV series. Now we just want to survive. And the thing is, when you just want to survive, you don't do those big steps anymore. You do small steps, maybe nothing, because for surviving, you just need one client a month or things like that. But here's the thing: when you start dreaming again, when you have these big goals and you really want to get to those big goals, like if I want to make like $1 million, if I want to get $1 million contract, I really want that. I'm not gonna wait. Then I have to go out. And that's a great book. I recently read the 10x thing. What's that?
Yeah.
10. But the basic idea is like
based on Dan Sullivan's teaching.
Yeah, exactly. Once you make your goals bigger, you actually have to do a different thing. You have to think differently, because you cannot have a 10x by just working more. It's physically not possible.
Yeah.
So you have to rethink things. You have to do things differently. And I like the idea, because in the end, you just have to think differently. And oftentimes you'll find something, a bigger goal that you can achieve easier than the smaller goal that you were after before.
Yeah, I have this friend who has more than once in his career sold his businesses for over $100 million, each business for over $100 million. And so when I asked him, what are you doing different than me? Because I'm like, what? I want to know the trick. Why do you get to do 100 over 100 million twice, and I'm yet, haven't done it once. And he said, Tim, it's just the problem I chose to solve. It's not as frequent. You have to kind of focus on it. You have to recognize it. But if you're looking for $1 million problem, you're going to find $1 million solution. If you're looking for $100 million solution, you're going to have to find $100 million problem. And you're like, oh yeah, that's what he did. So, and he, maybe the first time put himself in a situation where he lucked out, but the second time was definitely knowing what he did differently and applying himself. And then it happened sooner because he knew what he was looking for. He had the vision for it, and he solved the right problems. And I think that somebody's winning right now, right? Where you might feel like this is not great, and I wish there was a better situation, and maybe wishing back the past or something like that. In the meantime, someone else is gaining $100 million. Someone else is making a different change, or someone's inventing a new technology, or gaining a new client. So there's opportunity for anybody to steal this moment. We just have to get out of our own head, get out of our mind, and actually the idea of forging forward into the future, knowing the future is there for your taking and you can go do it. That's the encouragement.
Actually, like I talked to a lot of business owners, big studios and small studios, and what I've noticed is that during the pandemic and after, like there was never really, like the only jobs that really broke away were the really big jobs, something like 10 millions above. And then there was a writer's strike, like all those that the entertainment industry really suffered. And then what I know that the big companies like Barker Territory did, they got all the medium-sized and small projects, right? They didn't suffer as much, but the smaller studios now didn't have anything to do because the big studios took the small jobs.
Yes.
So, and I really think like in the pandemic, like there's still jobs out there. That's what I want to tell you. Like I have clients that they have the best times in their life now. Why? Because they have so much work, but and it's like a lot of pressure out there at the moment. And it's the same for the clients. Clients get pressured from every side at the moment. And guess what? They want to give the jobs to someone they really trust. So building that network, building that relationship is what counts on. Don't make a new show reel. Don't work on some side projects. Just go out there, meet people in person. Like it's the human thing, right? The human connection.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
really
exactly.
sells it.
Yeah, exactly. And that, what we try to put out on community, and you can hear the conversation taking place, even the understanding and encouragement that comes from RevCommunity, people are throwing the articles out there to allow you to think differently. And I think to have a thinking place, have a place where it's comfortable and uncomfortable to deal with some of the moments, but it makes you think again. That's what we need. It's putting your head in the sand, wishing it away, not applying your entrepreneurial brain to the problem. That's where you're going to be dead in the water. Matt, I think you were talking about the David Lee Roth quote about riding the escalator. And if you're on the escalator going the opposite way and you stop climbing up the escalator going the opposite way, by doing nothing, you're actually going backwards. And those people in the moment feel like these are the ones you have to put twice as much effort in to make any progress. And that coming down escalator is one like we kind of feel like right now, but it's possible and you can make progress. Just the effort you need to put into it. I like that as a vision of what's here. It's like, okay, great. Yeah, it's hard work. By the way, when we're busy, do you know what we also say? I'm working really hard right now. I swear it's like we're always working hard. We just have a different mentality of feeling busy opposed to being busy doing, inventing your future instead of having it handed to you, or someone else's future handed to you and you're just acting as a servant to them to make themselves successful. Sure, it's lucrative, but you're not advancing your career. So this might be the moment, Matt, you can get back to making that film that you weren't able to, or the TV show. You can get back to making it now that you are married and it's a totally different world. You can go back to living that out instead of waiting for someone else to hand it off to you.
Well, that's the funny thing, that show actually has been, one of the characters has achieved this life of its own on YouTube. And I found a Discord server of all these 20-year-olds who are really into it. So I am thinking about that.
No, that's great.
Seth asks, was that book the 10X rule that you were talking about before? Was that the one?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the one. The 10X rule. It's a good, I did it on audio, by the way. I just was driving and around and listening to it. It's positive encouragement. Dan Sullivan and his method is really smart. And Marko, as you're saying, it just changes the way you think. It's restructuring what do you think the problem is you're trying to solve, and that gives you different solutions.
Don't solve the small problems, right? It's like, even not only for your clients, but for yourself too. It's like, solve the big problem. Like, I want to have like 2-3 more millions next year at this time in product value or in production value. What do I need to do?
Yeah.
How do I get that? And I think that's a better question than asking for two. And another story. I'm currently raising for one of my clients. I'm helping him to raise funds for production. And what I've learned, what I've noticed is, talking to a lot of investors, it's actually easier to ask for 5 million than for 500,000.
That's so true.
So it's funny, but it's just like, but the thing is, for 5 million, they obviously want to have a bigger return of investment, and you have to make this clear. But for 5 million, for 500,000, they don't want to take the risk for a small budget, right? So it's just the same thing again, like, think bigger, and it's easier.
Yeah, the fundraising I've been around, it's when you're raising 10 million, you'll have 20 people lined up to give you $1 million. But if you're trying to raise 1.5 million, you can't find 3 people to give you 100,000. Yeah.
And I have this one more story. I have a client at the moment. She has so far she had $3 billion successful $1 billion campaigns. She's working in the education section for universities, and she told me like 50% of that money, of $1 billion, comes from 4 to 6 individuals. And they get this first before they go public and get the rest from from smaller people.
Yeah. So there are the big dreamers that will come alongside and work with you. That's kind of what you're looking for in the life-changing game. Yeah.
Stop working in the creative industry, and that's my big message here. Stop working like in the creative industry, like they don't have the money. They don't want to give you the money. They can compare you to anyone else. If you stop working for TV stations, they're the worst. If you really want to make money, I really think you need to A, solve a big problem, and B, talk to the people that have the money and solve a problem for them.
Yeah, that's right. Look for that. Even in the creative field, there are big changes. I'm going to interview Jacob Trollback coming up on the podcast and what he's doing with the new division. He still has Trollback Company, but with the new division, he started basically dealing with the global goals of the United Nations, and has since then designed campaigns to change the world. Like they just wanted to do something different than what he had done for 20 years in the branded space. And you get to have access to people that understand that and dive in and just say, like, there's no better time than the present. So this down cycle or these setbacks are really the moments where we can ask ourselves the next big question. Because again, if things are going well, you're not asking those questions and you're not advancing. And that's how the idea of forging into the future is recognizing the moment as the gleaning of the old so that the new can pop up. It's spring, let the new stuff come up because the old has gone away.
What would that new? Sorry, Matt,
I'm just wondering if either of you had any tips for people how to look for mega trends in their present. Like how do you spot that pot of gold that you've just been sitting on? What are the things you want to look for?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have an idea, but
yeah,
please.
I'd say one, I look at other people, their autobiographies, look at the shows that are created about them. I kind of just read to understand the way they think. Things like Richard Branson, to read his life story is so interesting, what it really takes to get work done. And he'll, in the middle of his book, I think it's Becoming a Virgin, I think is what it is. Like he's talking about cash flow crises that he's having while owning the Virgin mega stores. So just taking cash out of the cash register is kind of a cash crisis. And that's somebody that has built many futures in many different areas. So what's he doing differently? I wanted to kind of wrap my head around that. So that's one thing I do. The other is just not being afraid of what's right in front of you. I think that many of us wish away things because we are comfortable with where we are and not recognizing, there's a future right ahead of you that if you just take the simple step and get there. So to get in and ask questions and to get on a message board and believe and understand that these trends are real and to jump on some of those trends, that's where I think a lot of people thrive. You almost want to say they're different kind of thinkers, but they really are ones that aren't holding themselves back.
I like it. Marko, what do you some of your clients, what are they looking for? Or what have they found that has surprised you?
What surprised me today was I was talking to Vincent, which is the head of BAC here in Europe, and he said, I think I can say this because he's going to talk about this tomorrow. What he said is like, BAC actually doesn't use AI at all.
Oh, really?
And no, they don't want to, they don't do. But what he's like, they have their own large language things, and they have their node operations and stuff like that. They build something, but it's not like the AI thing everyone else is using. So they don't do that. But what he told me, like what they believe is the future is humanity. It's like bringing your soul into the work, because this is what BAC really does, right? It's like it's like the process. Like the thing is with AI, is like you miss the process. So you get what you give AI, and AI only gives you back what the industry already fed into. So you cannot create something new, and you only can create something new through the process. But the process needs that human element, this failure, this creation part. And so that's what they truly believe in. And I think is I wouldn't be too afraid of AI and all those things, because in the end, what it comes down to, like, look, the thing is, AI can create art these days, amazing art, but there's no soul in it. No one will give $1 million for an AI painting. But there's nothing. It's like And what he said, like he believes that the future is humanity, the human touch, and it's the personal brand kind of thing. If everyone can create amazing work, who will we buy from? If everyone has the same kind of standard, because everything is the same now, we will buy from the people we know. We will buy from the brands, from the personal brands in the end, from the artists. Like you want to be the artist. You want to brand yourself as the artist now.
Yeah, the term I use is other people-ness. You have to have the other people part of it in order to make things run.
I think that's a beautiful note. We should just stop there. That's it.
I love that.
Leave it there. The future is actually approaching right now. Your future is coming. You both got a late night in Barcelona, so you should.
Yeah, I was going to say,
bed. You're gonna be on a future stage.
We have coffee. We have meals to do tomorrow. Whatever. Yeah. I just want to remind people of a couple of things. One is Lady Boss Retreat is coming up in Los Angeles. The tickets are currently a sale. RevThink.com/retreat. If you know a woman leader that should be joining us, should be part of it, feel free to go to the website and register right now. It's the Lady Bosses are a group within RevCommunity. I'm just supporting them, helping them get the word out and build a landing page for them. But they have some really great speakers coming up in that. And one of them is Joanne Chan, who we're releasing a podcast interview I did with her recently. We're releasing that this week. So if you're not a member, if you're not a subscriber to our podcast, you should jump on there right now and hit the subscribe button. I have 6 new episodes coming up in short order. Yeah. I'm doing it by the season. Right now we're in a season related to transition. The next one's about a season based on leadership. So subscribe right now and start listening to those seasons as they pop up. Amazing interviews that I'm having. So I'm really enjoying that and pushing that out there. Marko, thank you for your time. What's the name of your podcast? So when they're subscribing to ours, what should they search?
It's Unfolding Learn from Creative Legends. That's my podcast.
Love it.
And yeah, check it out.
Subscribe. And good luck on stage there, Marko. You know me, I'm going to sit back in the back with a notepad. I'm going to critique the whole time. So you better do well. So you get good grades from me.
Well, what about if you come over, we could do the presentation together and then you.
Yeah, you got a deal. We can have a lot of fun. I have to sit up for the RevThink cocktail hour that night. I think you're going to have to, I'm going to have to leave a little bit early and go set up for that thing because we're having the cocktails on Friday night here, the cohort thing. So a lot of great stuff happening. I'm going to be tired on Saturday. That's all I know. The next 3 days are going to be really busy. But I'm looking forward to it. If anyone hears that off and they want to, and they don't know about it, they can DM me right now. I'll tell them, or they can go to the community page and RSVP to cocktails. But exciting days ahead. I'm here to pick up some of that energy and get some of that those vibrations that are happening with energy and creative people. So I'm looking forward to the next couple of days.
I'm feeling from here. Have a great
hippie word.
No way. Vibes are real, man. Vibes are real. Thank you, Marko. Thank you, Tim.
Of course.
Have an awesome time. And thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thank you, Matt. We'll see you
later.
Thanks
for having me.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.